almost
Jackie.
don't want to give these people this much attention because it's so sneaky. It's so sneaky and just unnecessary and silly and juvenile.
Yeah.
And it was obviously done to for those clicks and likes. And honestly, this is really a replay of 2017. It's just a continuation of the white left punditry class doing the exact same thing in 2017, only they did it to a John Mubaraka with some lies. And I talked about that on my last show, but you know,
The best,
all right.
but let's just be clear though. The best part of the whole thing is that Max refers to this as Jared's radio show. So, let's just be clear. Like, let's just.
You better let the chopper sing on that nigga,
You know
Jared.
what I'm saying? Yeah, no, I'm saying, I'm like, he got. I'm like, he knew who to put he got the branding right. This is my radio show. He got
like that little thing they do on the side.
He did say little at one point too, talking about everybody. Their little podcasts.
Yeah. Oh! Yes, he did. Yeah.
Where's that video? Let's get that video up. Come on, now.
All right.
We are talking about.
What are y'all talking about? They throwing shots.
We are talking about Max Blumenthal, who out of nowhere for the white reasons decides to do this shit.
You said the white reasons?
The white reasons.
That's right, for the white reasons.
So Jackie, I don't know. I pulled it up roughly around where you had timestamped it on Facebook. We can stop it whenever you want. Although I do want us to be able to come back just for the very, very end at some point, because I think that's the funniest part. But that is a good. I see now 7 minutes away. So I don't know if we have to go that far, but here we go.
No. I oppose bigotry. We all oppose bigotry.
Didn't they just not go with your rally out of bigotry? By the way?
Right. Well, no, but I'll get into that in a second. But end bigotry. I mean, that's just an abstract concept. That's not a concrete demand. It's like end hate. It's such a liberal conception. And there's nothing about ending the CIA. So a lot of virtue signaling from them, and then you had people like Jackie Lookman from the Black Alliance for Peace denounce this rally as so white and call everyone racist. And I saw her on my friend Jared Ball's radio program, and she was actually asked, who are you talking about? Who are you referring to when you call the speakers racist? And she called them latte leftists, like who've never done anything. And she spent 5 minutes refusing to name any names.
Of course. So you can stop.
And then she was involved with the Answer PSL's, half-hearted tiny rallies, and said that those are the rallies that we should be having. So I mean, it just really shows you why the anti-war movement has been in such a sad state, why it continues to have problems getting going, and it's just because of the narcissism of the people who have posed as its leadership and failed to deliver anything since the great anti-war protests against Bush's Republican war. And just being in this rally, being in the marching with people, going to there was a reception afterwards, so I got to meet a lot of the people and have extended conversations with them. I met someone from Kodiak, Alaska, who came from Alaska to the rally. I met a couple from
hold on. Let me just first. I just want to show real quick. I just want us to because I think this perfectly contextualizes the whole thing. Just real quick here.
Momentum going forward. I really feel like this is going to snowball into something much bigger this summer because the war is still going to be going on.
Doing live stand-up comedy in Tempe, Palm Springs, Milwaukee.
That's it right there. I just love that ending. The way it comes in like that. It's like supposed to be this serious end, and then Jimmy's right there, talk about his comedy tour, which I think is a perfect way to end that segment. Like it's a routine.
I don't like the way my man was like, she didn't name names, as if Jackie wouldn't name names. You feel me?
Okay.
Like, they want to name names, Jacqueline, run them down.
Just a little one. Then I'm gonna let you go. The very definition of a latte lefty is to say that after the rally, we had a reception. And at the reception, I met such and such and such.
Yeah.
But go ahead, do your thing.
Yeah. So the fact that that
man.
a couple of
And it's
things.
Luke Mon, nigga.
Mac,
Luke
wait,
Mon,
no,
motherfucker.
wait a minute. Hold on. First of all, people need to understand that Max Blumenthal knows me. So he is framing this whole thing as if I'm just some random person who is just out here saying racist shit about the whites. Max does in fact knows me. So does his girlfriend Anya. Yeah. So that's one. So that is the disingenuousness of his little comments, as if he doesn't know how to pronounce my last name. That's the disingenuousness on one level. The other thing is that um, he absolutely lied about the conversation we had that day on the show. He lied about the content in the article, which is that's just par for the course, because no one who has complained about the criticism that came from that article said anything about what was actually in the article. No one ever challenged any of the information that's in the article. He didn't either. And he particularly said that I called the speakers racist and that Jared asked me who I was talking about when I said the speakers were racist and I wouldn't name anyone. That conversation never happened. Those words never came out of either one of our mouths. I never said anything about the speakers or the attendees in the article or on the show that day. He sat there, flat out lied about this whole thing. Oh, my good friend Jared Ball, they ain't friends like that. And then he makes this situation where like he's using Jared as a cover for his bullshit, for his racism. Well, my friend Jared. And then he, makes up this lie about me. Let me tell you something. These white people are very angry that we had the nerve to call out the racism among the people they are choosing to roll with. Again, this is the same thing they did in 2017. This is no different from the same thing white leftists or white people, I can't even call them leftists, have done throughout the history of struggle in this country when they have been able to be convinced by racism that they have nothing in common with the rest of the working class, particularly African descended working class. So, I'm glad that Max Blumenthal is pissed off enough at me and what I said that he had to not only put my name in his mouth, but fabricate a lie because he can't challenge what I actually wrote or said. But lying about me is the only way he can get any more traction out of this ridiculous farce that February 19th turned out to be, just like we said it was, and the money grab that it is, because those people raised $100,000. And when it comes out, who actually paid for all the rest of the stuff? Yeah, I don't think a whole lot of people are going to be saying a whole lot else about criticizing anybody else or on the left. It's shameful, but it's also funny, and juvenile and mighty white. It is
Predictable also at this point.
There's just a couple things I would want to add to what because I watched a bulk of that video actually, and it's even more comical beyond the personal stuff when you start to see that in that video they basically take responsibility or credit for saving the anti-war movement. And at one point they condemn what Black Alliance for Peace is meant to represent by saying that unlike the real Fred Hampton, who would build across racial lines, even with racial and political lines with the original Rainbow Coalition, these folks today are the fake, fraudulent heirs or descendants of that struggle. So it was particularly disingenuous at that part as well, to do that, which so that part was maybe the most irritating of the whole thing. But they're clearly in a zone of I don't know if it's like their version of the fog of war. There's a lot of confusion about who they are, what their relationship with others are, and what it, you know. So but that said, there's just a couple things I would want to point out very quickly, and then we can come back to as much or as little of this as anyone would like. First of all, it's disingenuous. The whole approach is disingenuous. To suggest that, first of all, to suggest personally that we're friends is absurd.
That ain't your friend, Jared.
I mean,
he ain't your friend. Max ain't your friend.
And in particular, I would say if we were friends, they would know very well what I and we thought of that march and that gathering. We would have had extensive conversations, as I and we would have had with our friends or comrades about that whole event. They would have been very clear about, first of all, my condemnation of the fact that they only make reference to Julian Assange as a political prisoner, and that they all refused when I specifically reached out to them a few months ago in that last round of pitch effort to get Mumia out. I asked them specifically to raise his name and voice to just help echo all the work that was being done. Not one of them did it.
Wow.
Aaron Mate, Ben Norton, and Max Blumenthal. I reached out to all of them directly. I had at one point attempted, maybe a year, maybe it's 2 years ago at this point, to build some sort of political relationship with them when I thought that they were differently situated and doing different work. And that didn't work. So for them to come back now and throw my name in there like that is incredibly disingenuous. And then for Aaron Mate to be sitting there when specifically he and I had our little back and forth when he had a couple years ago interviewed Peniel Joseph, and I tried to let him know, like, you know, what's up, and sent him some work, and his response was, well, Gerald Horne co-signed him, so I'm a go with what Horne said versus what you're saying. So my point in all that is just to and by the way, this is going to come back again because I just got Norman Finkelstein's new book, and he's done, as I thought, you know, as I even suggested to him at one point, he's done like a massive written version of what they're doing here, which is to not properly respect and engage the actual Black left. And had there been any sustained engagement, even indirectly by familiarizing themselves with the literature and the writing and the behavior of the Black left, you don't have to actually meet and deal with these folks. A lot of their conclusions would be much better and much more enhanced. But I'll basically wrap it up here, is to say nothing has made me more. It's a paraphrase of what I once saw Sophia Bakari say in All Power to the People, when she said, I didn't join the Panthers because of the Southern cracker. I joined the Panthers because of the Northern New York City police. My version is nothing has made me more of a nationalist and a race man than dealing with the white left. So it has not been the Southern cracker and all of that has pushed me to the left and farther to the left. It is the white left and those nominally in that position who constantly do this kind of performance when it comes to Black people and particularly Black radical politics. So that frustration aside, it's just unfortunately comical. And then one last point I noted here, Ben Norton, their comrade, was in a PSL Answer coalition thing. The last time I saw him in person, live and direct, was at that DC event some years ago that the PSL had put together. So my point is, to your point, Jackie, now for real wrap it up, is that I didn't mean to do the preacher. I'm wrap it up. I'm gonna do the real wrap it up now. Is that they do know who we are. They do know how to reach out. They would know how to find us and build with us and really learn where we're coming from if that was in fact their intent. And clearly it's not. So it's just disingenuous, it's silly, and so that's why we're here doing what we do.
Yep. So
should I say mine? I got a little bit.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, because part of this is, yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Like when these white folks say, hey, we're just going to team up with the right wing whites and bring them over and have this group demonstration and march, because they have no fear whatsoever of being attacked, no history of it. White folks get to be as free as they want to decide when and who they're going to team up with at their urging and necessity, right? So as soon as something happens that involves Black folks, that they want to start having Black guests on or whatever like that, they're going to reach out. But other than that, you're a side piece to them, right? We're all side pieces to them. And if they have to ignore us, or they want to ignore us, or they're going to ignore us because they think the big money or the big troop is fucking around with these right wing folks and having like people so they can get on Fox News, they can get on CNN, they can get on once in a while MSNBC, or create their platforms where they, of course, they get like hundreds of thousands of white viewers because they can mix all that shit up. There is no fear whatsoever in terms of their own history in this country, which makes them give a second thought to what it's like to be like a black person and have to deal with racist white folks in the same room with you, and you're going to so-called organize with these folks. These are the same motherfuckers who went out. They support the Trumps. The what's her name? Like the Tulsa. What's the white woman name?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
Gabbard, who's on the main stage, who's come out all crazy.
Yeah.
All crazy, all racist, crazy.
That's who he was recepting with after.
Yeah, that's who he's
afterwards.
recepting. That's who he's having his lattes with. Great to see you, also. Great to see you. So it's like some complete craziness that they think that they somehow are building something, and then all the rest of us are side. What do you say? And bigotry. All the rest of us are side issues. You know what I mean? They can deal like they feel like they don't have to deal, and they don't want to deal because that's their relationship to the country. Their relationship to the country is, it's never getting hot for us. All that hot shit is for other people, right? Their folks ain't locked up in prisons at the numbers and the rates and all the rest of it. It's never hot. They can pick and choose when they want to be like on the side of black folks or whatever. So
but
that's
it's the confusion. It's the confusion to me when they get criticized by people, specifically black people on the left. They're like, we don't understand. Like, why are they so angry? We're doing this, we're doing X, we're the anti-war, leadership here. And it's like you said, when the white left convorts and clicks up with the white right crackers, I can only assume that these white leftists are also crackers. Like, because the only people that kick it with crackers are other crackers. You understand? Like, black people are not coming into spaces in which we know racists are there and actively advocating against our interests and against our issues. So when the white left links up with the far right, it's a cracker convention. Why would I want to be there? Are y'all talking about me, or am I on the menu?
That's how you know we're not friends. Because if we were friends, I'd have been like, Max, who the fuck are you rolling with? I was like, that's why I can't. And I would have been like, and by the way, don't go and publicly make stupid comments about you representing Fred Hampton better than black folks, and particularly Black Alliance for Peace and our associated crews. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying during the video. He was saying Jackie is representing some retrograde reactionary blackness, whereas they're representing the actual Fred Hampton tradition by being willing to build with non-black, non-radical people. And it's and that's why I was like, that's when I was like, okay, now they're trolling, they're not being serious. That's why I was like, that's why it actually made me calm down a little bit, because I was okay, now you fucking with me. Okay, all right, Max. Okay, I got you. All right, because like, come on, you're not. So that's how you know that they're not only not friends with me, but they're not taking any of this stuff seriously in terms of their engagement with world majority people.
It's that same thing when they talk about how we shouldn't talk about race and only talk about class, right?
Yes.
How we should bring down the conversations about race because it makes white people upset, because my humanity is it somehow a detriment to you teaming up with right-wing white people to talk about issues of race and murder and white supremacy? Those are abstract for you. That's a boutique issue for you. But if I talk about class and I don't talk about race, then we good friends, then we can chill together, then we can get invited to the latte parties and shit. I mean, what is that?
Yeah, and look, I think there's a part of this that because I didn't even realize this until I started watching a little bit of Max's older videos, because I'm doing too much of my own organizing and actual work to be paying a whole lot of attention to people who are not talking about organizing and actual work. That's just my thing. So I realized that Max is one of those white people who have a legitimate grievance with the state. That is the thing that this pandemic has exposed, that white people now have a legitimate grievance against the state, because what did the state do for people, even white people, during the pandemic? Nothing. Here's the difference between how these white people responded to the state not providing for them and the rest of us. They went right. Their answer was to move right and to align with folks in the right wing who want to destroy the state because of their grievances, legitimate grievances during the pandemic, but rather than aligning with the anti-capitalists and the anti-imperialists who want to destroy the state so that everybody can live, they went right. Because it's much easier for them to go and align with right-wing folks who want to destroy the state to, create a nice ethno state for them and fuck all the rest of the non-European people. I think a lot of this new chapter in this whole left-white alliance arc that's been playing out throughout the history of struggle in the working class struggle in this country. A lot of this new chapter is kind of created by this pandemic, and now white people having to be the recipients of this government not doing shit for them, and their response, because of their white supremacist settler colonial latent tendencies, is to immediately go right.
And
I
let me
think
just tell you how
that's
white this was. It says other speakers on the National Mall included former Democratic Congressman Dennis Kucinich, failed Green Party presidential candidate Dr. Jill Stein, and Libertarian presidential candidate Ron Paul.
Ron
As for the
Paul.
crowd, it was a mixed
Yeah.
bag, with some wearing far-right InfoWars t-shirts and others donned pride-themed attire. So this, so again, when the whites get together with each other, when they get together, it's like they could put all that racism shit aside. We don't care about that. That's all partied up. In fact,
We should supposed to just get over it, Kamal. We're just supposed to get over that and ignore Alex Jones folks and all of them. Like we just supposed to like
They're
and
allies.
Ron Paul Kim. They had Ron Paul on one of these big promo. Like he was the key, like the signature. I'm like, I can't imagine. I couldn't even imagine showing up to something like that. And I just can't. I mean, anyway. So,
How could you feel comfortable as a Black person? You know what I mean? And we understand that in these sorts of events, Black people's comfort is not centered, right? They're not concerned about whether or not the Black folks in attendance or speakers or whatever feel comfortable. But to me, this is just an extension about how white Americans engage, period. How they engage in their families, how they engage in their workspaces. Even if they themselves are non-racist or hopefully anti-racist, they understand that most white Americans are not non-racist and not anti-racist. So they figure out ways to get along, and it's not a hard bridge to build between a non-racist white and a racist white, because at the end of the day, they still have the whiteness in common. So they will still operate within the best interests of whiteness, period. So, I mean, when we talk about the holiday gatherings and white folks got to sit around with a Trump uncle and this, that, and the third, like this event is another representation, another manifestation of that. White folks are very comfortable engaging with those of the opposite political ideology with them, and they will find ways to get along, but then they will chastise us for not being there or being critical. Like, why don't y'all come kick it with our racist uncles? And it's like, it's not the same dynamic, man. This ain't Thanksgiving dinner, and I ain't related to y'all. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's just.
And I might be, and I'm still not showing up.
Tell him, Jared. Tell him, Jared. Dog, I don't want to kick it with y'all racist. I don't want to kick it with y'all racist. And if you as a white leftist or whatever, if you are comfortable kicking with the racist, I can only assume you two are racist. That's the only deduction. It's the only reasonable conclusion that can be drawn.
Yeah. And it's not like, there's sometimes we tell white folks, organize amongst your people, right? So there's a strategy there. If you're going to bring people over to a new politic, that you organize them around their issues, but it's going to bring them over to a new politic. There's no assumption that you're going in there to say, like, it's okay if you're racist. Well, let's not talk about race issues. Let's not talk about the history of white supremacy. Let's not talk about how it exists.
But not just that, condemn people, Kamal, who bring that up and then claim that you, because you want to get rid of the CIA and you're the new Fred Hampton, are the, look.